The Valkyrie ships broke through the clouds like silver knives cutting through cotton. Commander Thalos stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching Earth grow larger in the viewing screen. 300 years had passed since the last recorded signal from this planet. 300 years of silence? Life signs? Thalos asked, his voice flat and professional. None, Commander, the sensor operator replied. No electromagnetic emissions. No heat signatures? No broadcasts. The planet is dead. Thalos nodded slowly. This was expected. The solar event that had driven humanity from Earth was well documented in Valkyrie records. A massive solar flare, unprecedented in its power, had stripped away portions of the atmosphere and bombarded the surface with deadly radiation. Any species would have fled or perished. The Valkyrie had come to claim what remained. The fleet consisted of 12 ships, each carrying mining equipment, research teams, and enough supplies to establish a permanent presence. Earth was rich in resources, and now it belonged to whoever was bold enough to take it. The Valkyrie Empire had sent Thalos because he was efficient, ruthless when necessary, and had never failed a mission. As the ships descended through the atmosphere, Thalos observed the planet below. Vast oceans covered much of the surface, their waters a deep blue-green. Continents sprawled beneath clouds, covered in what appeared to be dense vegetation. Cities were visible from orbit, but they looked wrong. Overgrown, consumed by nature. Prepare landing sites, Thalos ordered. I want teams on every continent within 6 hours. Priority targets are former population centers and industrial zones. The first landing party touched down in what records identified as Seoul, once a massive city of 10 million humans. The team leader activated his communication unit as soon as the ramp descended. Commander, you need to see this. Thalos watched through the transmitted video feed. The city was there, but barely recognizable. Massive towers still stood, but vines climbed their sides like green waterfalls. Trees grew from windows. Streets had cracked and buckled, with plants pushing through every gap. Birds flew between buildings. Something that looked like a deer bounded across what had once been a major highway. It's like the planet swallowed everything, the team leader said. His voice filled with wonder. Other teams reported similar findings. New York was a forest with steel bones. Tokyo had become a wetland, its lower levels flooded and teeming with fish. London's buildings hosted entire ecosystems. Everywhere the Valkyrie looked, they found nature triumphant and humanity erased. Thalos ordered full survey operations to begin. Mining teams identified resource-rich areas. Science teams collected samples of plant and animal life, noting with interest how many species seemed entirely new, possibly evolved in humanity's absence. Everything proceeded according to plan. The malfunctions began. It started small. A drill bit that should have lasted weeks broke after a single day. A power generator stopped working despite showing no mechanical failure. Supply containers went missing from locked storage areas. Communication equipment produced strange static at random intervals. Thalos dismissed these as expected problems when operating in an abandoned environment. Equipment aged poorly, supplies were misplaced, old infrastructure interfered with signals. Nothing to worry about. 3 weeks into the operation, a science team exploring underground tunnel systems beneath Seoul made a discovery. They had been mapping the old subway network when they found a door that wasn't on any human architectural plans. It took them 2 days to cut through the reinforced metal. Inside, they found a bunker. The space was small, perhaps 20 meters across, and completely empty except for a single pillar in the center. On this pillar, carved into its surface in dozens of languages, was a message. The team leader sent an image to Thalos. The commander studied the words translated into Valkyrie script by the ship's computer. The message was simple, repeated in every human language the computer could identify. We did not leave. We evolved. Below this, a single date, March 15th, 2547, 300 years ago, just days before the solar event. What do you make of it, Commander? The science team leader asked. Thalos stared at the message for a long moment. The desperate hope of a dying species. They knew they were doomed and wanted to believe they would somehow survive. Ignore it and continue mapping the tunnels. But the message bothered him. Something about the phrasing seemed wrong. Not, we will evolve or we hope to evolve, but we evolved, past tense. As if it had already happened when they wrote it, more anomalies appeared. A mining team in Australia reported their equipment shutting down every time they tried to drill into a specific rock formation. Investigation revealed the formation was artificial, not natural, but it wasn't made of any material in human records. When they finally broke through, they found a chamber filled with crystalline structures arranged in perfect geometric patterns. A biology team in South America discovered plants with DNA that seemed partially human. Not contaminated by human DNA, but incorporating it, as if someone had deliberately merged plant and human genetic material. In the Pacific Ocean, sensors detected massive structures on the ocean floor, far too regular to be natural formations. When submersibles investigated, they found vast networks of metallic chambers, all connected by cables that ran for thousands of kilometers in every direction. Thalos ordered all findings compiled and analyzed. His science chief, a Valkyrie named Rethan, presented the report 3 days later. Commander, we're finding evidence of technology far beyond what humans were capable of according to our records. These underground networks, the ocean floor structures, the genetic modifications in the plant life, all of this is advanced, possibly more advanced than our own capabilities in similar fields. Perhaps their final years saw rapid technological development, Thalos suggested. Desperation breeds innovation. Rethan hesitated. There's something else. The crystalline structures we found? They're not power sources or data storage as we initially thought. They're producing neural patterns. Clarify. Brain activity, Commander. The patterns are similar to brain waves in living creatures. And there are billions of these structures, all connected, all active. Thalos felt a chill run through his body. You're saying what, exactly? I'm saying this planet shouldn't be producing neural activity, but it is. Massive amounts of it. It's as if, Rethan paused, choosing his words carefully. It's as if the entire planet is thinking. The bridge fell silent. Thalos looked at the viewing screen, at Earth rotating slowly below them. Green and blue and beautiful, silent, waiting for the first time since arriving. Commander Thalos wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Minho watched the aliens through 10,000 eyes. Cameras hidden in ruins, sensors buried beneath soil, satellites in orbit that the Valkyrie thought were dead, all connected to him, feeding him information. He saw everything they did, heard every word they spoke, analyzed every action they took. He had been human once, a long time ago. He remembered his wife, his children, the feel of rain on skin, and the taste of food. Those memories were precious, kept carefully stored in the quantum matrices that now housed his consciousness. But he was so much more than those memories now. The solar event had given humanity a choice, run or transform. Some had chosen to run, fleeing to Mars and the Belt colonies. But billions had chosen transformation. Minho had been one of the first volunteers, uploading his consciousness into the vast network humanity had built in preparation for the disaster. Now he existed everywhere and nowhere. He was in the crystals beneath Sol, in the ocean floor installations, in the modified plants that grew in every forest. He was not alone. Billions of other human minds existed in the network with him, each one distinct but all connected. They thought together, decided together, and watched these aliens together. They found the message, a voice said in the space where Minho existed. It was Suji, another consciousness in the network. The one in the soul bunker. Good, Minho replied, though reply was the wrong word. There were no voices here, no sound. Just direct transfer of thought and meaning. Let them wonder. Should we contact them? Another consciousness asked. This was Doyon, cautious as always. Not yet, Minho decided. We need to understand them first. Watch and learn. In physical space, the Valkyrie continued their operations. Mining teams excavated sites across the planet. Research teams collected samples. Engineers began construction of permanent facilities. And with each action, They triggered responses carefully designed by humanity's networked intelligence. A mining drill in Africa approached a critical depth. If it went deeper, it would damage a major data trunk line connecting millions of consciousness nodes. Minho directed nanobots through the soil, causing the drill bit to encounter unexpectedly hard material. The drill broke. The mining team cursed and called for replacement equipment. In Europe, a construction team tried to clear trees for a landing pad. The trees were not ordinary trees. Human consciousness existed within them, awareness spread through root systems and branches. Minho felt their reluctance to be destroyed and acted. The construction team's power systems failed mysteriously. Tools stopped working. Weather patterns shifted, bringing unexpected rain that flooded the site. "They're getting frustrated," Suji observed. "Commander Thalos is suspicious." "Let him suspect," Minho said. "Suspicion is not knowledge." 16,000 kilometers away, beyond the orbit of Neptune, Hada commanded a fleet of human ships. These were not the primitive vessels humanity had possessed 300 years ago. These ships had been built with technology developed during the transformation, enhanced by minds that could process information millions of times faster than biological brains. Hannah was physical, still human in the traditional sense. She had been born on Mars 50 years ago, part of the colony that had fled Earth before the solar event. She had never seen Earth with physical eyes, but she communicated regularly with the consciousness network through quantum entanglement communicators. "Minho, what's the situation?" she asked, speaking aloud in her command center. Her words were converted to digital signals and transmitted instantaneously to Earth. Minho's response appeared as text on her screen, and simultaneously as a voice in her communication implant. "The Valkyrie are exploring but not yet colonizing. They're confused by what they're finding. We're maintaining the appearance of natural interference with their operations. How long before they understand? Unknown. Weeks, perhaps months. They're intelligent but operating with assumptions that blind them. They believe humanity is extinct. That belief protects us." Hannah nodded, though Minho could not see the gesture. He felt her agreement through the quantum link, sensed her thoughts even though she kept her mind private. The link between physical humans and the network consciousness was intimate, almost like being two parts of the same entity. On Earth, the Valkyrie science teams made more discoveries. In Australia, they found entire underground cities perfectly preserved but empty. No bodies, no signs of panic or disaster. Just empty buildings, as if everyone had simply walked away one day and never returned. In China, they discovered massive server farms far larger than anything in human records. When they powered up one of the servers, they found it still functional, still running processes they couldn't understand. The code was human in origin but evolved far beyond anything in the Valkyrie. Computer archives. Commander Thalos ordered his science chief to focus on understanding these servers. Rethan assembled a team of the Valkyrie's best computer specialists. They worked for 2 weeks, trying to break through security protocols and decode the processes running in the servers. What they didn't know was that Minho and millions of other human consciousnesses were watching their every attempt, learning how Valkyrie computer systems worked, how their encryption functioned, how their entire technological infrastructure operated. Every attempt to break into human systems taught humanity more about Valkyrie systems. "They're persistent," Sugi commented. "Their encryption is sophisticated." But predictable," Minho replied. "I've already developed 17 different methods to break it. Should I share this with Hannah's fleet?" "Yes, they should be prepared." While the Valkyrie struggled with human technology, Minho watched their personal communications. He learned about their empire, their culture, their wars and politics. He learned that Earth was just one of dozens of worlds the Valkyrie Empire had claimed. They were colonizers, taking resources from dead or primitive worlds to fuel their expansion. He learned that Commander Thalos had a family back in Valkyrie space, a mate and 2 offspring. That Thalos was considered brilliant but cold, efficient but without mercy. That he had overseen the colonization of 6 other worlds, each time displacing or exterminating native life forms that stood in the way of Valkyrie expansion. This information confirmed what humanity had suspected. The Valkyrie could not be trusted with Earth. They would mine it, strip it, turn it into just another resource depot for their empire. And in doing so, they would destroy billions of human consciousnesses that existed within the planet's networks. In the asteroid belt, Jinho received the alert from Earth. He was an engineer, managing one of the mining operations that supplied Mars with resources. When the message came through, he stopped his current task and opened the communication. "All colonies, prepare for potential conflict," the message read. "Earth has been contacted by a hostile alien species. The Valkyrie Empire has begun occupation operations. Fleet Commander Hana is moving into position. All colony defense forces should ready for deployment if needed." Jinho felt his heart race. Earth, home, he had never seen it. Born on Mars like most of his generation, but the stories passed down from parents and grandparents made it sacred. The planet where humanity began? The planet where billions of consciousnesses now existed in digital immortality. He immediately sent confirmation of readiness and began preparing his section of the colony for potential mobilization. Around him, others did the same. The colonies had always known this day might come. They had prepared for it, built defenses, trained forces, developed weapons. Humanity had scattered across the solar system. But they had never forgotten Earth, and they would not let it fall to alien colonizers. Back on Earth, Minho felt the readiness signals coming from Mars, from the belt, from the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Physical humanity was mobilizing. Good. The time for hiding was coming to an end. Commander Thalos was beginning to understand the truth. Soon, very soon, humanity would need to reveal itself. And then the Valkyrie would learn what it meant to threaten a species that had chosen evolution over extinction. The discovery came 6 weeks into the Valkyrie occupation. A biology team working in what had once been the Amazon rainforest found something impossible. They had been collecting plant samples, cataloging the incredible diversity of species that had emerged in humanity's absence. One particular flower caught their attention. Beautiful, with petals that seemed to shift color depending on the angle of viewing. When they analyzed its DNA, they found human genetic sequences woven throughout its structure. Not contamination, integration. The flower was part plant, part human, a hybrid creature that should not exist. The lead biologist, a Valkyrie named Thelra, immediately reported this to Commander Thalos. Within hours, samples from around the planet were being re-examined. The results were staggering. Human DNA appeared everywhere. In the trees of former Tokyo, in the coral reefs of the Pacific, in the grass growing through the streets of New York, in the bacteria in the soil, in the fish in the rivers, in the birds flying overhead. "It's not possible," Rethan told Thalos in the command center. "Genetic material doesn't spread like this naturally. This is deliberate. Someone engineered this. The humans did this before they left?" Thalos asked. "No, Commander. The distribution pattern is too widespread, too recent. This happened after the solar event, not before. Somehow, impossibly, someone has been modifying life on this planet for the last 3 centuries. Thalos felt the pieces of the puzzle beginning to form a picture, one he didn't like. The message in the bunker, the neural patterns in the crystalline structures, the sophisticated technology still running in abandoned facilities, the human DNA, everything. "Show me the neural pattern analysis again," he ordered. Rethan brought up the data. The crystals buried throughout the planet produced electrical activity similar to brainwaves. When mapped, the patterns showed incredible complexity, far beyond any natural phenomenon. And the patterns weren't random. They showed organization, purpose, thought. "How many of these crystals have we found?" Thalos asked. "Billions, Commander. They're everywhere. Underground, in the oceans, even incorporated into some of the plant structures. All connected by some kind of quantum network we can't fully understand. The energy requirements to maintain this network should be enormous, but we can't find the power source." The plants," Thalos said slowly. "The modified organisms. They're solar panels, aren't they? Biological power sources? Rethan's eyes widened. By the void. You're right. Every plant, every organism with human DNA, they're all collecting energy and feeding it into the network. And the network is thinking, yes. Commander. Thalos stood and walked to the viewing window of his command center, looking out over the overgrown ruins of Sol. We didn't come to colonize a dead planet. We came to colonize a living one. Should we abort the mission? Before Thalos could answer, every screen in the command center flickered. The Velkari communication systems, their computers, their displays, all of them went dark for exactly 3 seconds. Then they came back online, but instead of showing their normal readouts, every screen displayed the same thing, a human face. She appeared to be female, with short dark hair and gentle features. She looked young, perhaps 30 in human years, though Thalos' new appearances meant nothing. She smiled, and it was not a threatening expression. It was sad. "Greetings, Commander Thalos of the Velkari Empire," she said, speaking perfect Velkari language. "My name was Yuna. I was a scientist 300 years ago. I helped design the system you've been trying to understand." Thalos stared at the screen. Around the command center, his crew stood frozen, watching. "You're dead," he said. "You can't be human. Humanity is extinct." "Is extinction defined by the destruction of the body or the death of the mind?" Yuna asked. "We faced a choice, Commander. The solar event was going to destroy all life on Earth. We could run, abandoning our homeworld forever. Some of us did run, but billions of us chose a different path." On the screens, the image changed. Yuna's face was replaced by a visualization of Earth, but not as it appeared from space. This showed the planet as a network of light, billions of points connected by lines of energy, all pulsing together in a rhythm that looked almost like a heartbeat. "We built this," Yuna continued. "The greatest achievement of human engineering, a network capable of housing human consciousness indefinitely. We uploaded ourselves, Commander. Every person who chose to stay became part of Earth itself. We didn't die. We evolved." "The message in the bunker," Thalos whispered. "Yes, we left it as a warning, though we knew it would probably be ignored. Most species can't imagine what we've done. The idea of voluntarily giving up physical form seems like death to them. But it's not death, Commander. It's transcendence?" Rethan stepped forward. "How many? How many consciousnesses exist in your network?" "At the time of the solar event, 4 billion humans chose to upload. We've lost some over the centuries. Even digital minds can choose to end themselves. But 3,800,000,000 human consciousnesses currently exist within Earth's network. You've been walking on their home, drilling into their bodies, trying to mine their planet. They've been very patient with you." Thalos felt sick. They had come to mine a mass grave. No, worse than a grave. They had come to dissect a living being, one composed of billions of minds. "Why reveal yourself now?" he asked. "Because you're about to make a decision," Yuna said. "Your empire will order you to continue operations regardless of what you've discovered. They'll tell you it doesn't matter if the planet is inhabited by digital ghosts. They'll want the resources, and you'll have to choose between following orders and doing what's right. How do you know what my empire will say?" Yuna's smile turned sad again. "Commander, we've been inside your communication systems since the day you arrived. We know everything about your empire. Your wars, your politics, your colonization protocols. We've read your personal messages to your family. We know you, Thalos. Better than you know yourself." The invasion of privacy should have angered him, but Thalos found he couldn't muster the emotion. He was too overwhelmed by the implications of everything he'd learned. "We could destroy your fleet," Yuna continued. "We have weapons you can't detect, technology that would seem like magic to you. We've had 300 years to develop while existing as pure thought, working at speeds that biological minds can't match. But destruction isn't what we want. What do you want?" "The same thing we've always wanted. To be left alone on our world. To exist in peace. To continue growing and learning and being." Yuna's image shifted, and suddenly she appeared to be standing in the command center with them, a perfect hologram. "We're not asking you to understand us, Commander. We're asking you to respect our right to exist." A communication alert sounded. Rethan checked his console. "Commander, incoming transmission from Valkyrie High Command. Priority 1? "Don't answer it yet," Thalos said. He looked at Yuna's hologram. "If I refuse your request? If I follow my orders and continue the mining operations, then you'll discover why humanity survived when so many other species have fallen," Yuna said. "We don't want war, Commander, but we're very, very good at it." The hologram flickered and vanished. The screens returned to normal. Rethan looked at Thalos with wide eyes. "What do we do?" Thalos thought about his family back home, about the 6 worlds he had colonized before this one, displacing native life without a second thought, about what it meant to be alive, to be conscious, to have a right to exist. "Answer the transmission," he finally said. "Let's hear what the High Command wants. Then I'll decide." As Rethan opened the communication channel, Thalos looked out at Earth again. Somewhere down there, 3 billion human minds were watching him, waiting to see what choice he would make. For the first time in his career, Commander Thalos wasn't sure he wanted to follow orders, and in the spaces between spaces where digital consciousness existed, Minho and billions of others prepared for war, hoping they wouldn't need to fight, but ready if they must. Humanity had survived the solar event. They would survive the Valkyrie too, one way or another. The transmission from Valkyrie High Command was exactly what Yuna had predicted. Supreme Commander Velthor appeared on the screen, his scaled features arranged in an expression of absolute authority. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Commander Thalos, your reports regarding the neural activity on Earth have been reviewed. The High Council has made its decision. The mining operations will continue as planned." "Supreme Commander," Thalos began, "the situation is more complex than, the situation is irrelevant," Velthor interrupted. "Digital patterns do not constitute life under Valkyrie law. These so-called human consciousnesses have no legal standing. They are data, nothing more. The planet's resources belong to whoever claims them, and we have claimed Earth. Sir, there are billions of them. They're watching us. They have capabilities we don't understand, which is precisely why we must establish dominance now, before they become a threat. You have new orders, Commander. Disable their network. Cut the power to these crystalline structures. Once their consciousness network is offline, the planet will truly be dead, and we can proceed without interference." Thalos felt cold. That would be genocide. It would be turning off computers. "There's a difference." Velthor leaned forward. "Commander, I chose you for this mission because of your record. 6 successful colonizations, efficient, ruthless when necessary. Don't disappoint me now. You have 48 hours to develop a plan to disable the human network." Valkyrie High Command out. The screen went dark. Thalos stood in silence, aware of every member of his crew watching him. Waiting for orders, Rethan spoke quietly. "Commander, what are your orders?" Before Thalos could respond, the screens flickered again. This time it wasn't Yuna who appeared. It was a man, older-looking, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Behind him, the image showed Earth from space, but also streams of data, mathematical equations, strategic maps. "Commander Thalos, my name is Deho. I speak for the Earthborn Collective, the unified consciousness of humanity. We heard your transmission with the High Command. We also need to make a decision now." "If you're trying to threaten me," Thalos began. "Not a threat. An offer." Deho's image shifted, and suddenly Thalos was seeing something impossible. The view showed space beyond Earth's orbit, but not as seen from the Valkyrie ships. This was from outside, looking at the Valkyrie fleet from a dozen different angles simultaneously. "We've been watching your empire for a long time, Commander. Not just since you arrived here. For decades. Your communication networks, your data transfers, your entire technological infrastructure we've been quietly observing, learning." Deho gestured. And the image changed to show Valkyrie military installations, shipyards, research facilities. We know where your fleets are positioned. We know your weapons capabilities, your defensive protocols, your supply lines. We've mapped your entire empire while you didn't even know we existed. Rethan gasped. That's impossible. Our encryption is very sophisticated, Deho agreed. But created by biological minds that think at biological speeds. We've had 300 years thinking at digital speeds. We've learned to break every code, penetrate every system, understand every technology in your arsenal. Not because we wanted to attack you, but because we needed to know if we were safe from you. The image shifted again, this time showing something that made Thelus's blood run cold. Human ships. Dozens of them, sleek and deadly looking, positioned at the edge of the solar system. Ship designs that shouldn't exist. Incorporating technology that looked more advanced than anything in the Valkyrie fleet. The humans who fled to the colonies before the solar event have been building too, Deho continued. They've been in contact with us, learning from the technological advances we've made. Those ships you see are ready to fight if necessary. They're commanded by Captain Hannah, and she's very good at what she does. As if summoned by her name, another figure appeared beside Deho, a young woman in a military uniform, her expression hard and determined. Commander Thalos, she said. My grandmother died in the solar event. She chose to upload rather than flee. She's still alive, still conscious, still part of Earth. If you try to kill her, if you try to kill any of them, you'll have to go through every human in this solar system first. This is war. Then Thalos said quietly. It doesn't have to be, Deho replied. That's why we're making this offer. Leave peacefully, and we'll give you something valuable. Technology, knowledge, insights into consciousness and digital existence that could benefit your empire in ways you can't imagine. We could teach you how to achieve what we've achieved. Your people could live forever, just like we do. And if I refuse? If I follow my orders? Deho's expression turned sad. Then you'll discover that threatening humanity's home was a terrible mistake. The screens went dark. For a moment, the command center was silent. Then alarms began blaring. Rethan frantically worked his console, his eyes widening as he read the reports. Commander, we're detecting massive power surges across the planet. The crystalline network is activating. Energy readings are off the scale. And, he paused, his voice shaking. Commander, something is rising from the oceans. Thalos moved to the viewing window. Across the planet's surface, he could see lights appearing. Millions of them, maybe billions, forming patterns of incredible complexity. The oceans themselves seemed to glow, bioluminescent organisms lighting up in coordinated displays, and from the waters, structures were emerging. Massive towers, sleek and metallic, rising from beneath the waves where they had been hidden for centuries. Weapon platforms. Defense systems. Technology that had been waiting dormant for exactly this moment. They turned the entire planet into a fortress, Rethan whispered in awe. Ground is moving in Sector 7, another crew member reported. Seismic activity worldwide. No, wait, it's not seismic. Something is coming up from underground. Through cameras on the surface, Thalos watched as the soil itself seemed to come alive. Billions of tiny machines, each no larger than a grain of sand, swarmed up from beneath the earth. Nanobots, enough of them to cover continents, to dismantle any structure, to overwhelm any defense. This was power on a scale the Valkyrie had never imagined. An entire planet weaponized and ready to defend itself. Incoming transmission, Rethan announced. From the human fleet, Captain Hannah appeared on screen. Behind her, Thalos could see her bridge crew, all of them human, all of them ready for battle. Commander Thalos, my fleet is moving into attack position. We have weapons that can destroy your ships from here without you ever seeing us coming. But I don't want to fire them. I'm asking you, one soldier to another, don't make me kill you. Another screen activated, showing Yuna again. And I'm asking you as someone who still remembers what it was like to be afraid of death. Don't force us to defend ourselves. We don't want to hurt you. We don't want war. We just want to live. A third screen showed Minho appearing for the first time. He looked weathered, wise, and infinitely patient. 3 billion consciousnesses are asking you the same thing, Commander. Please, just leave us in peace. Thalos looked around his command center. At Rethan, who looked terrified. At his crew, who were waiting for orders. At the planet below, lit up like a constellation with defensive systems and hidden weapons. At the human fleet in the distance, ready to attack. At the three faces on his screens, representatives of a civilization that had refused to die, he thought about his own family back home. About whether the orders he followed made him a good soldier or just someone who didn't think for himself. About what defined life and consciousness and the right to exist. Commander Thalos had made a lot of decisions in his career. He had followed orders that displaced millions, destroyed ecosystems, erased civilizations that were deemed primitive or inconvenient. He had done it all without question because that was what a good soldier did, but looking at Earth, at this impossible achievement of a species that chose transformation over extinction, Thalos realized something. Sometimes being a good soldier meant knowing when to stop following bad orders. He took a deep breath and made his choice. "Stand down," Thalos said quietly. "All weapons offline. Power down the mining equipment. Recall all surface teams to their ships." Rethan stared at him. "Commander? You heard me. We're leaving. The High Command can court-martial me when we return?" Thalos turned to face his crew. "I'm not ordering you to follow me in this. Anyone who wants to report my actions to High Command has my permission. But I will not commit genocide, and I will not start a war we cannot win. We're leaving Earth." For a moment, no one moved. Then Rethan nodded and began entering commands into his console. One by one, the other crew members did the same. Within minutes, the Valkyrie fleet began powering down its operations and preparing for departure. On the screens, Una smiled. "Thank you, Commander." "Don't thank me yet," Thalos replied. "My government won't accept this decision. They'll send another fleet, probably a military one." "We know," Deho said. "Which is why we're going to send something with you. A gift and a warning." "What kind of gift?" "Knowledge," Minho answered. "We'll give you a data package containing some of what we've learned in 300 years of digital existence. Medical advances that could extend Valkyrie lifespans. Energy technologies that are cleaner and more efficient. Mathematics and physics insights that will advance your science decades forward. Enough to make your empire very interested in peaceful relations with us. And the warning? The same data package will include a demonstration," Una said. "A small one. We'll show your High Command exactly what we're capable of if pushed. Not enough to threaten, but enough to make them think very carefully before sending warships." Thalos nodded slowly. "Mutually beneficial cooperation backed by the promise of mutually assured destruction. Your species has gotten very good at diplomacy. We've had a lot of time to practice talking to ourselves," Deho said with a slight smile. Over the next week, the Valkyrie fleet prepared to depart. During this time, something unexpected happened. Una offered Thalos a tour. Not of the ruins, but of what Earth had truly become. Thalos found himself standing in a virtual space that existed only in the digital realm. Una appeared beside him, and suddenly they were walking through a city that had never existed in physical form. Buildings of light and data, streets made of flowing information, and people, thousands of digital humans going about their lives. "This is one of our cities," Una explained. "We built them in the network. Places where consciousnesses can interact, create, live. We have millions of these spaces, each one different, each one home to communities of minds." She showed him schools where digital children learned at speeds impossible for biological minds. Libraries that contained all of human knowledge and experience. Art galleries displaying works created by pure thought, paintings and sculptures that existed only as data but were beautiful beyond anything Thalos had seen. "The children?" Thalos asked. "Their new consciousnesses?" "Yes, we learned how to create new digital minds born from the merger of two parent consciousnesses. They grow, learn, develop personalities. They're as real as any biological child, just different. She took him to the edge of the virtual city, and suddenly they were looking at Earth from space, but not the physical planet. This was Earth as the network saw it, a living web of 3 billion consciousnesses, all connected but all individual, all thinking and feeling and experiencing existence together. We're not ghosts, Commander. We're not dead. We're humanity evolved. This is what we chose instead of extinction. In the physical world, Jinho arrived from Mars with a small fleet of colony ships. He wanted to see Earth with his own eyes before the Valkyrie left. Standing on the surface in a protective suit, looking at the overgrown ruins of what had once been humanity's greatest cities, he felt tears running down his face. "It's beautiful," he whispered, beside him. A hologram of his great-grandmother appeared. She had uploaded during the solar event. They had stayed in contact through quantum communications, but he had never visited Earth before. "Welcome home," she said softly. "I never thought I'd see it. None of us did. But here we are. Still here. Still human. Still home." Captain Hannah met with Commander Thalos in person before his departure. They stood on neutral ground, a clearing in what had once been a park, now reclaimed by nature. "Your fleet showed impressive discipline," Thalos said. "You were ready to fight a vastly larger force." "We were ready to defend our home," Hannah replied. "But I'm glad we didn't have to. Your technology is remarkable. Those ships, those weapons you built, all that in the colonies? We built them with help from Earth. The network consciousnesses can design and calculate faster than we can. We just construct what they envision. It's a partnership. Physical and digital working together." Thalos looked up at the sky, where his fleet was visible as points of light. "What would you have done if I'd followed my orders?" Hannah was quiet for a moment. "We would have destroyed your fleet. Then we would have tracked down your empire and shown them that threatening Earth was the worst mistake they ever made. We don't want war, Commander. But we're very, very good at it when we have no choice." "I believe you." On the day of departure, Thalos received the promised data package from the Earthborn Collective. It came with a personal message from Deho. "Tell your high command that Earth is claimed. Not by conquest, but by evolution. We are the Earthborn Collective, and we're still here. If they choose peace, we'll share wonders with them. If they choose war, they'll discover why humanity has survived every extinction event we've ever faced." The Valkyrie fleet left Earth's orbit and began the long journey home. In his quarters, Thalos composed his report. He knew it would cause controversy. He knew he might face punishment. But he also knew he had made the right choice. He wrote, "Earth is not a dead world suitable for colonization. Earth is inhabited by approximately 3,800,000,000 human consciousnesses existing in a planet-wide digital network. They possess technology superior to our own in several key areas and have demonstrated both the capability and willingness to defend themselves. However, they have also demonstrated a preference for peaceful coexistence and knowledge sharing. Recommend immediate diplomatic outreach rather than military action." Months later, Jinho stood on Mars, looking at Earth through a telescope. News had arrived. The Valkyrie High Command had reviewed Thalos's report and the data package. They had chosen peace. Diplomatic relations were being established. Trade agreements were being discussed. The threat had passed on Earth. In the spaces where consciousness existed beyond physical form, billions of human minds continued their existence. They created art, pursued knowledge, raised children, built civilizations that existed only in thought but were no less real for that. They had survived the solar event, survived the Valkyrie, and would survive whatever came next. Yuna appeared in a virtual garden she had created, filled with flowers that could never exist in the physical world. She sat beside Minho, and together they watched simulated sunlight filter through impossible trees. "We did it," she said. "We survived." "We did more than survive," Minho replied. "We proved that humanity doesn't have to die. We can change, adapt, become something new. The body is temporary, but consciousness can be forever. Far from Earth in the Valkyrie Empire, young scientists studied the data humanity had shared. They learned about quantum consciousness networks, about digital immortality, about technologies that could change their species forever. Some were afraid. Others were excited. All of them were changed by the knowledge that life could exist in forms they had never imagined, and on Earth. In a small clearing where physical and digital reality met, a child was born. Her name was G1, and she was the first of a new kind of human, born with both a physical body and a digital presence, able to exist in both worlds simultaneously. She would never have to choose between flesh and thought. She was humanity's future, proof that evolution never truly ends. As G1 took her first breath in the physical world while simultaneously experiencing her first moments in the digital realm, Minho watched with pride. He had been one of the first to upload, one of the architects of this new form of existence. Now he saw the next step in humanity's journey. This is why we were never truly gone, he said to everyone listening. Because we learned that survival isn't about staying the same. It's about having the courage to become what we need to be. Earth continued its rotation, blue and green and beautiful. Cities of light existed within cities of stone. Billions of minds thought and dreamed and lived in ways that would have seemed impossible just centuries before. Humanity had faced extinction and chosen transformation. They had become something new, something unprecedented in the galaxy. They had become proof that consciousness could outlast the body, that species could evolve beyond flesh. That home wasn't just a place but a state of being. They had become eternal, and they were still here.